What's up, guys? Welcome back to another FiveM scripting tutorial. In this video, we're going to be creating a simple yet scalable crafting system for you to use in your FiveM server. So if you guys like the video, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me a lot. It's free. And yeah, let's get right into it. So let's start off by creating a bench, a crafting bench for our players to use to actually craft things. Oh, I forgot to say, this whole thing that I'm using here is TW template. Just go to my GitHub. There's a template there. It's the same files and everything. I'm just deleted everything out of all the files except this here and the config. Everything's there. It will be in the description. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a variable for our object. So this will be our bench obj. We're going to set it to nil for now. Technically don't have to write equals nil if you just leave it like this. The Lua compiler will automatically recognize that's a nil value, but I'm gonna put nil because it doesn't hurt to make it more easier to understand. Local, next thing we're gonna need to do is we need to have our bench model hash. Bench hash. We need to know what our model hash is. So this hashes are represented by two backticks. Backtick is the key to the left of the number 1, tilde, backtick, whatever. So I'm just going to copy this over because it's a long strung out thing. Here it is. Pause if you need to. There it is. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a citizen.create thread and function. You guys should be able to do what I'm doing and autofill all this stuff. If you guys have the correct extensions, we'll just put them in here real quick. This one is the main one that I use. This one that gives me all of the base stuff. So yeah, this is a good one. Use that one. All right. So first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to request model. So we actually need to load this model hash into memory so we can use it. There we go. So now it's loaded into memory. So next thing we need to do is actually create the model itself. So create the object itself. Bench object equals, and we're going to call to a method called create object. So create object needs a model hash. So we're going to create the hash or get the hash there. And we're going to need an XYZ. This is where you go into your config file. Here's our config file. Config.benchlock equals vec4. It's going to be vector 4 because we want that W value for the heading. And so with this one, you're going to just do vector 4. Grab your vector 4 where you want to be. I want to be right here. Go back to your script here. Close this out here. Paste it in. Minus your z by 1 because the value of the vector 4 when you use that is actually grabbed by the torso. So just minus by 1. It will fit perfectly on a flat ground. And so we're going to do config dot benchlock.x config. We're just going to copy this so we don't have to type it each time. .z, and then all these values are going to be false. They don't need to be true. Network hash, you don't need any of that stuff. It's being created on the client, so it doesn't need to be a network hash. Next thing we need to do is we need to set the entity heading, because we actually need to adjust the rotation of the object. So we just do entity, which would be our bench object, which that is an integer. Every entity in the world is defined by an integer. The heading would just be this benchlock.w because the 4th value in a vector 4 is represented by a w. So there we go. We set the heading. Next thing we need to do is we need to unload this model from memory. Request a model, architect, use set model as no longer needed when done using this model in the script. We are done using this model in the script. So if crafting bench, or not crafting bench, sorry, from my notes, crafting bench obj does not equal nil, so this means it's created, then we can unload the model, set model as no longer needed. Then we just patch in bench hash. That will just unload the model from memory and not make it so we don't have to have so much stuff in the memory. So that is a good thing to have in your script. You can even clean this up a little bit, since sometimes if it's just one thing I'm doing, I'll put it to a one-liner. So next thing we need to do is we need to create the third eye for our bench. So I'm using Ox everything, Ox inventory, Ox target, and then this server is built on top of Qbox, but it doesn't really matter. It should work as long as you have Ox inventory. If it doesn't work, then just change it. That's the glory of coding. You can change anything you want because all this is open source. So we do exports dot ox underscore target dot colon add local entity. Probably spelled it wrong, so we're just gonna copy this over. I'm dyslexic, so that sometimes my spelling sucks. So we're gonna do bench object because we need to pass in an entity, and then you're gonna do curly brackets, enter twice, do it again for the options, and there you go. So next thing we need to do is distance equals 1.5. I always do 1.5. Then we want the name, which will be the unique identifier for the target. If you need it, we'll do bench underscore open. I always like to do a verb for those. Verb just makes it so it's easier to know what it does. Verb is an action word. For the icon, I am going to put something I already have. You just get these from Font Awesome. Label is what you actually see when you third eye it. Open bench. Next thing we're going to do is on select. This is actually select. This is what gets called when you actually select the thing. So we're going to actually trigger an event inside of here. But the event is not created yet. But there it is. So this will actually open the bench for us if we do print. Whoa. Print test. I said whoa because I don't know why the formatting just really threw me off there. If we third eye this, we should print. Oh, line 19. Oh. Trying to trigger an event that doesn't even have a name, and this is gonna cause an issue because we need to delete the object. Another thing too with your scripting, you want to delete objects when you're coding so there doesn't just create a whole bunch of objects all over and again. So just add this delete object inside your on resource stop. That's why it's included in my template. So just ensure it. I don't think it deleted, so I'm just going to delete it with Spooner, restart it again, and then it should say test. There we go. All right. So if I'm going too fast, just guys, let me know in the comments. I'm always open to constructive criticism. I love when I hear input from you guys, so just let me know. I'm trying to go slower because someone said in my last video kind of went a little too fast and didn't explain enough. So I'm trying to explain stuff a little bit more. So just let me know what you guys think. Okay. So next thing we need to do is actually create the net event for when we actually interact with when we actually use the third eye. So I have a custom snippet that will create net events for me like this. So I don't have a tutorial about that on my YouTube, but I'm sure there's other out there. I really recommend it. It's amazing just being able to do that. Like I have one for PED too. If I do that, it automatically just does that for me. And if I think I do create PED here, I have one that automatically does all the regular stuff for a static PED. It's really amazing. But back to the topic. So temp. So here's the format of a net event. First, you want your script name, so tw.crafting. Next, you want it to be if it's client or server. So this is client. And then a function name for what it actually does. We'll do open menu. There we go. So this will actually open the menu. So next thing we need to do is register the context. This is another thing you need to go into your FX manifest. It's already included within the template, but just make sure you have this if you're not using the template in your shared scripts. You need it to use anything with Oxlib. So we do lib.register context. This will actually make it so we can register a context menu. I'm just going to go down a whole bunch here. So we need a unique ID. So ID equals general underscore crafting. Doesn't matter. Be whatever you want it to be. Title equals the same thing. General crafting. Very well. Good. Then we need our options. Options equals, it's another table. And then it's another table. Which actually define the buttons. So your options are really just the buttons. So for each button, we need a title. So title, the first item we're going to do is a lockpick. So it's going to be lockpick. Next, it's going to be the description. It's going to be what we need to craft it. So we need 5 iron. Need commas. Don't forget commas, guys. And then we're going to need an icon, which I'm just going to copy the next 2 over. It's just icon and image. They're just kind of long. So use FiveM for images, much better than any other thing out there. Since Imgur doesn't work anymore, FiveM is very nice. I love it. So next thing we're going to need is we're going to need to call an event, which will be our crafting event. Excuse me, I'm sick. Coughing a lot. Then we're going to need our args, which will be just equal to another table. And this will just be equal to, or we'll just put item equals lockpick. There we go. So that is that. And then we just want to put this in this trigger server event. So uncomment that out if you comment it out and put your new menu in there. And then we need to, at the end here, we need to lib.show context. And then you need to put the name, the ID of this menu. There you go. So now it will open, or it should open. We'll test it out here. And we'll set the time to noon because I do not like nighttime at GTA. And there we go. See, open the menu. Nothing happens when you press it, but if you see, we got the image in there and everything. All right. On a roll. Okay. So next thing we need to do is we're just going to copy this over so we don't have to retype the event code out again. And this is just going to be craft underscore item. So now we're going to craft an item, and then make sure you guys put this, make sure you put it here. You need to actually call this event. All right. So that is that. So we're at a point where we actually need to start building our config.lua out because we're going to need our item tables. So here is where the main scalability of things will be. So we're going to do config.craftable items will be our table name. So inside our table, we're going to be using string indexing, which is just using a string for the index instead of a number, just so it's easier to do. Lockpick. We're going to create another table. Inside the table, I shouldn't be talking this much while sick. It's going to be, don't think we really even need to do. So inside of here, we're just going to have a thing called our menu title, which is just going to be the fancy word for whatever you're doing. So lockpick with its fancy like uppercases and a space. And then we're going to have another table called recipe, which is going to hold another thing here. I'm having a brain fart. Name, item name equals iron. I'm just typing this out and then I'll explain it in a second. And we want rec num or rec amounts equals 5. Okay, so to explain this, right? This is our item that we need. This will be the key. This is just the fancy title. The recipe is what we need to actually craft the item. You can have as many of these as you want in the recipe. That's why I said this is all scalable. You could have literally 500 of these if you want. Just put commas between them. And you could have 500 items you need to craft it. It's just, that's a lot. But yeah, that's all you really need in here for now. So just save that and head back over to your main.lua and your clients. So let's start building out our craft item event. All right, so let's create a local variable called index, and we're going to set it to 0. This is just a placeholder value for now. It will be used in a second here, but I'm just working from top to bottom in my notes. So next we're going to create another local variable that will store the recipe table for us of the current item. And I forgot, we need to add item to craft here. So how this works is we're calling this event when we press this button. So this purple squirrely to this purple squirrely is a button. When we press this button, this event gets fired. So it's coming to here, to this line here, and it needs a parameter or an argument. And the argument is stored here. So this event, again, when the button's pressed, gets this event, which comes to here, and it's like, oh, I need an argument. So that argument is here. So we're going to need local items. I'll do item recipe equals config.craftable items dot item to craft dot item, because remember, item, we need to get this name, so we do items to craft dot item dot recipe because we want the recipe. There we go. So how this works is I'm going to put my config here. So this is how the pointer works. I'm going to drag this over so it's easier to see. Okay. So we have config.craftable items. Config.craftable items. We need to go to this index. That's what the square brackets reference. So it's getting this here or whatever function it is. I mean, we could have another button here because we're going to do another one later anyways, so we'll just do it now, might as well. Screwdriver. So even if it was screwdriver, it would look for, when this button's pressed, it would look for screwdriver here, but we get an error. So that's just an example. Don't do that now. But config.craftable items, we're getting the index here. The index is lockpick. This text here is lockpick, so it's going to come to this one instead of another one. And we need to do .recipe, and it's getting the recipe here. So that's how that works. All right. So now that we have that, we need to do a for loop. A for loop is just a loop, obviously. It's in the name that just loops over a list, a table. I keep calling it a list, table. They're all pretty much the same thing, with minor differences for the most part. So we do for I. I stands for index. This index and that index are a little bit different. I'm actually going to change this name to counter so we can think of them differently. I don't want you guys to get confused. So for I equals index, and then we're going to do item. Item is just a temporary value. Right now, I will explain what it is in a little bit. So for I items, in I pairs, and then we want to do item recipe do, and it's going to end it. So what this for loop is doing, so I'm going to drag this over again. So if I were to have multiple values here, per se, I had 2, and this was plastic. So what this for loop is doing is it's going to loop over this one It's going to do whatever in there, and then it's going to stop, and then it's going to go back, and then it's going to go to this one. So all it does, it just goes over each one until it's told to stop. So what items does, this variable here, is it's going to store whatever index that the loop is currently on. So if I equals 2, items is going to equal this line here. So I'm going to be able to reference this item name and this required amount. But if I equals 1, I'm going to be able to reference this required amount and this item name on this line. That is how the for loop works. So when we loop over things now, we need to check and see if we have that amount of required item. So if exports, this is where we're going to start working with aux_inventory dot get item count, and we need to get the item name. So we're going to do item dot item name, because we need to get this item name from one of these indexes that we're on. Item name is greater than or equal to item dot rec amount. Then, so we're getting rec amount from here. If it's greater than that, then we're going to actually set counter to equal I. That is for another thing yet that I haven't explained yet. So just type that for now, and I'll explain it later. We're gonna put else break if it lets me tab break. So if this recipe is too long and we don't even have the first item, that means we can't even craft the whole thing. So there's no point in looping through the whole thing if we already know we can't do it because we don't have one of the items. So we're just gonna break the entire loop. So it wouldn't make any sense to completely loop through it. So what we're gonna do next is actually where the logic will be for actually giving and taking an item. So if counter is equal to item recipe, then I forgot to add a hashtag, and hashtag in front of a list or a table will just print, or will just means the length of the list or the table. I keep calling a list. I just started calling a list and I can't stop. We're gonna do else here just so we have an else, and we're gonna print doesn't have items. And here at the top, I kind of did that backwards. I'm sorry, guys. Print has items. Okay, so let's test this out. So we are doing a lockpick, so we need 5 iron. Doesn't have items, so I think I forgot to delete plastic. Yeah, I forgot to delete plastic. See, it didn't work because I didn't have plastic, but if I restart, I forgot to change the recipe table, and I try iron now, I have the items. There we go. It works. All right, very good. It works now. So let's finish this client script out, and then we'll move to the server. Yeah, we'll finish this out first, so we just have the progress. No, actually, we'll do the removing items first. So let's build. Excuse me. Let's build the server-sided of the script. We're gonna do the same thing we've done and just copy and paste, but instead we're gonna change this from server, and we're gonna do add item. I shouldn't be adding underscores. You shouldn't add underscores to these things. They are functions. They don't need underscores. I shouldn't be adding underscores. So I'm actually going to change that real quick. There we go. For you guys, it's fine. For me, it annoys me because it's not how it should be done. So technically, you guys should change it because that's how it should be done. But it's no biggie. So we're going to do local src equals source, where this is just us getting the source of where it's coming from. So then we're gonna do local. Oh, we don't. We probably shouldn't do this. We'll just do give item. Local item equals config.craftable items dot item name. So this is just getting the item from here. So it's gonna be lockpick. This is a check to make sure item is actually in there. This is kind of an anti-exploit, because if we didn't have this check-ins, I'm pretty sure someone with Ulan could trigger this server-side event and just put in whatever item name they want, and they could get whatever item they want, and we don't want that. So we're gonna print, whoa, cheater, and we won't ever even see that print, so that's fine. So export. So we're gonna be actually adding the item. Inventory. Add item. I didn't need to delete that whole thing, but src underscore item name dot amount. There we go. So that's how you're gonna add the item. The next thing we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy that down and do take item. We'll just go along the same idea there. And you don't even need all the stuff that's here. Now we just need to do this, and it's an add item. We want to do remove item, and it's the same thing there. So that's all we need to do for this whole thing in the server side. So next thing we need to do in the client side. So head back to client side. We need to remove the items from the player's inventory if the list is like, if we have multiple items, we need to remove them all. So we need to do another for loop. So now you guys already know how for loops work. So for I equals item in I pairs, and we want to loop through the item recipe again. Do trigger server event, and then we just want to copy this take item. That, and then we need the item string, so this would be item dot item name, and then the amounts would be item dot required amounts. So it's going to take, so say this one was, we had 2 required items, it would take 5 iron first, and then it would take another 5 iron. So that's how this for loop works. Next thing we want to do is not trigger that yet. My notes are messed up. So this is actually technically not in the right spot right now, but we're just going to keep it right there for now. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to play a scenario. So task start scenario in place. Ped is player, ped ID, but actually we're just gonna assign this value here because it's used like 3 or 4 times. So just assign a local ped in this function here, or in this event, because it's used a lot. I'm just gonna actually copy the rest over because it's kind of strung out. So there's that. If you guys want that, just copy it in. In the next part too, it is very... Nah, I'll type this out. That's fine. I'll type this one out. If this is gonna be our progress bar, lib dot progress circle, boom, boom. So parentheses, squirrely bracket, and then we're gonna need then, and then an else. So we're gonna excuse me. This would be progress finished. This would be progress not finished, just so there's some comments so you guys can see that. So we're going to need duration equals 2000, and then this title strung out, mainly what it was. So this is mainly the long part. This will just label that what you're crafting. And then next we need a position equals bottom. Use while dead equals false. Don't use it while you're dead. Can cancel equals true. I pretty much always have that set to true. Then the next one would be disable. It's equal to a table. We do not want the players to be able to move. Equals true. We want to disable movement. And we want to disable combats. Equals true. We do not want them to be able to do this in a car. So we do true. Yeah, I don't know how they'd get in a car where the thing is. But then just do another comma. If then. Oh my gosh. I'm dying. Take a drink of water here real quick, guys. Sorry. Okay, so this is where you actually want to take your taking items code and actually put this in this then statement, because that actually means that it was the code was or the progress bar was complete, and then you can delete it from the top. And then what we're gonna want to do here is also trigger server events, and then we're gonna want to trigger the give item events because we want to give the item that we crafted. So it'd be item. No, it would be item craft.item. That's the name of the item we want to craft. And then just one. So that will actually give the item. And then we could give a little ox notify. So lib.note. It's lowercase. Note if I curly bracket or parenthesis curly bracket down, down, down. Enter, enter, enter. Title. I like to do something simple, crafting finished, and then the type would be success. There we go. So if the crafting was failed, then the crafting is not finished, whatever. We just do error. You just copy the same thing and do error, and you do crafting failed. Then we want to finish this, so we would just do clear ped tasks. We'll just put ped, and then let's add another error here instead of a print. Just do missing rec items. There we go. So that should honestly be the script finished. Look through here. Clear this out. So let's test it first without our required items. Missing required items. All right, good. So we know that we can't craft without our required items. So when we craft it, oh yeah, hold on. This timer is really fast. I remember when I was building this idea. So we'll do 5,000. We'll do 5 seconds for the timer. So we do this. We craft. It does the animation. We can cancel it, and it fails, and then we leave that scenario state, whatever. We can do the crafting here. There we go. Crafting finished. It took 5 iron. It gave us 1 lockpick. There we go. So then now I can show you guys how scalable this truly is. So I gotta make sure screwdriver is an item. Give item 1 screwdriver 1. I need another item. Give item 1. What's another item that I could use? Toolbox. Repair kits. Okay, so let's do a repair kit. The image is horrible. All right, so let's show you guys how scalable this really is. So repair kit is literally you just add another button. So we're just gonna add another button here. It's gonna be called repair kit, we're gonna need 5 iron, add a pipe, and we're gonna need 5 plastic. It's gonna be the same picture because I don't really want to do the whole picture again. Repair kit. So then, since you add the new button, then you need to go to config and you need to add a new entry in your item table. Comma, make sure you do comma. Repair kit. And we said it's going to need 5 plastic. So we need to make sure it has 5 plastic here. And literally that is it. That is all you have to do to create a new item. /noon. See, repair kit's already there. It's the same picture, you guys know. Missing required items. So if I give myself give item 1 plastic 15 and I go to try to craft the repair kit, we're crafting a lockpick. I didn't change the, but you see I still got a repair kit. I just didn't change this part here. We just do repair kit instead. And then we start it like that. There we go. See, crafting repair kit. There we go. That is how easy and how scalable a crafting system you can create. And yeah, so another explanation of why we have done it like this with this one master method instead of doing a method for each item is because some systems like this can get very large, and having, you know, like 40 events for 40 items you want to craft, you have one event and just 40 items, because no matter what, you're going to have a button for each item so you can click it to craft it. So why create 40 buttons and 40 events when you can create 40 buttons and one event to handle it all? So that is the whole point of this. It's a very object-oriented programming standpoint. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let me give you guys the thumbs up. I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you guys like it, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button. If this video gets enough likes or enough views, whatever, it does well enough comments and stuff, I will add a part 2 where I add a rep system into it. Yeah, if you guys want stuff like that, just let me know. And yeah, have a great, wonderful day. Peace out.